This week,
the members of the Security Council convey their deepest sympathy to President Carter's family and to the government and people of the United States.
He was the 39th president.
You know, Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose.
A peanut farmer from Georgia, a public servant long after his 4 years in the White House.
Looking back on it, I wouldn't change it. The life we've had since then, 35 or more years, at the Carter Center has opened up a new opportunity for us to serve in 80 countries in the world.
Along with his lifelong partner and wife, Rosalind, spent 40 years building houses for Habitat for Humanity, his final build here in Nashville.
So we're very thankful for Habitat and what it's meant to us, and the opportunity that it's given us to get to know people that we would not otherwise have known.
The winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, longest living ex-president, James Earl Carter Jr., passed away last week at the age of 100. Hello again and welcome to a special edition of This Week. At the start of 2025, we mark the loss at the end of 2024 of former President Jimmy Carter. Elected in 1976, he served one tumultuous term, but it was his work over the next 40 years that will be the foundation of his legacy.
From the New York Stock Exchange to the United Nations,
the members of the Security Council convey their deepest sympathy to President Carter's family and to the government and people of the United States.
Tributes are pouring in to honor the life and legacy of former President Jimmy Carter.
You know, Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose, life of principle, faith, and humility.
Carter, who died Sunday at 100 years old, was the longest living president in American history. Just 56 when he left the White House in 1981 after serving one term, Carter and his wife Rosalind devoted themselves to humanitarian pursuits for the next 40 years, helping to build homes, working to fight disease, and monitoring foreign elections.
Looking back on it, I wouldn't change it. The life we've had since then, 35 or more years, at the Carter Center has opened up a new opportunity for us to serve in 80 countries in the world.
The former president was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002.
And one of the things that they were known for in the White House was their focus on human rights. And so he really wanted to continue that, as well as work on conflict resolution. So they created the Carter Center, which has a focus. We put human rights at the center of everything that we're doing.
At the Carter Center in Atlanta, a steady stream of visitors paying their respects.
I really appreciate him as an ex-president, you know, building houses and all the things he's done.
And President Biden ordering all American flags to be flown at half-staff for a month in honor of the late president. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Atlanta.
The tributes continue to pour in from Democrats and Republicans alike and show that many largely won't remember the former president for his politics, but for the person he was.
We'd all do well to try to be a little more like Jimmy Carter.
President Joe Biden remembered his predecessor, Jimmy Carter, as a dear friend, not only to him, but also to millions of Americans, and ordered U.S. flags to fly at half-staff in his honor.
Jimmy Carter lived a life measured not by words, but by his deeds.
President Biden highlighted the work Carter did after leaving the White House, from eradicating disease around the world to advancing civil rights to building homes for the homeless.
Lifted people up and changed lives and saved lives all over the globe.
Carter's grandson, Jason Carter, said he was proudest of that work he was able to do through the Carter Presidential Center.
I think he will always appreciate how much he got to see of that life's work being done, even up until the very end.
Work that didn't go unnoticed. Crowds of supporters waited in line Monday to sign a condolence book for Carter near the White House. And the White House announced a state funeral and National Day of Mourning for Carter, January 9th.
We're going to do a major service in Washington, D.C.
And after the services here in D.C., Carter will be buried next to his home in Plains, Georgia, where his wife of 77 years, Rosalind, is also buried. In Washington, I'm Jessie Tenor.
Around 2 hours north of former President Jimmy Carter's hometown, there is a museum that serves as a reminder. The Carter Center and Presidential Library sit on adjoining sites near downtown Atlanta, and inside you get a look at the man who became leader of the free world.
I think people are very curious to know about his humble beginnings. I think they're more surprised about what they find here at the museum in terms of the history, not just of his life, but of his work.
It's a mix of things from his past, from Plains, Georgia to politics, a quest for the governorship that included a controversial loss in 1966 before becoming governor in 1970, and his quest for the White House. Dr. Meredith Evans is the director of the Carter Presidential Library and Museum, and even for her, being here is special for multiple reasons.
I wrote President Carter when I was about 4. I sent a letter and some drawings to the White House asking if I could have my party at the White House. And my mother translated it. My letter actually is in the archival collection.
Her work today is making sure the work done decades ago is not forgotten. A lot of history is chronicled here.
His humble beginnings shape who he is, right? I mean, segregation was real for him. That's how he grew up. But he also watched his mother work in segregated spaces.
And it's not hard to see how Jimmy Carter became the man he was. A belief in human rights, health care, free and fair elections worldwide, and peace.
I think all of those things are close to him because of how he was raised and who he saw do the work.
That defined his life and his successes and his decades of work in and out of the White House. In 2002, accepting the Nobel Peace Prize, he reiterated the mission of both his work and the nonprofit Carter Center and what drives him.
We can choose to alleviate suffering. We can choose to work together for peace. We can make these changes. And we must.
Something newer generations will be able to see.
When he used to come here or study and do research in the library, or when he would walk through the museum, he was always willing to talk to people, especially the babies. We stay free for under 16 for a reason, so that the children can come and probably bring their parents so they can see who this man really is and who he was.
Stay with us. This week continues in a moment.